Hi, it's Friday, 3rd of July. Welcome to Together Unlocked, brought to you from East London and the West Midlands. With me in my studio today is artist and Together 2012 chair Julie Newman. A random cat has appeared. This one is called Leo. He's a black, fluffy, long-haired cat for anyone who can't see us. I'm Ju Gosling, artist and artistic director of Together Unlocked. We're going to do a little bit of audio description in a minute, but first of all, we're going to go over to our West Midlands studios for some introductions and some audio description. On a Friday, we dress up to go out to stay in. This can be for a real event, an imagined event, a virtual event, or anything else you can think of. We just want to see you dressed up to go out to stay in. Send us your photos and videos. So, over to the West Midlands and the other half of our virtual sofa. Robin and Josh, introduce yourselves.
Yeah, so good afternoon. I am Robin Surgeonator. I'm business director at Together 2012 and artist known as Angry Fish in my own right. Yeah, we're up here in a very windy, wet, miserable West Midlands this afternoon, actually, as it happens. Just to describe myself today, I have got even longer, white, silvery locks they're turned into now. I was spiky head at the beginning of this process. Now they're locks. Um, I am wearing rimless silver armed glasses, and I'm reasonably clean and shaven today. Um, and in terms of being dressed up to go out, I am wearing a black polo shirt. Got that right today. Um, and it has a logo on it that says Swim Science. Some of you will know that Josh and I are swim coaches, and Swim Science is actually our own little swimming initiative, offering kind of master classes and stroke analysis and all kinds of things to elite swimmers. And that's a white rectangle with red writing saying Swim Science and a blue logo that's sort of like lots of mini arrows.
I am Josh Surgeonator. I'm a doctoral research student and a host of Together TV. I have swept over blonde hair, and I am very clean shaven today because I had to actually see to be a grown up this week, so I had to make myself look slightly more presentable. And I am wearing a lovely kind of fleece lined fur hooded winter jacket, which is a navy blue that has kind of zips and buttons. Whilst it is dressing up to go out to kind of wear if you're doing some kind of hiking or summiting a nice mountain somewhere, and it's also because it's really cold in our house. So I've gone for fashion and function with my outfit for today.
Yes, sorry, and I should add that I am wearing this particular shirt because I am dressed up to stay in to go to a COVID-19 and swim coaching lifeguards course, which I have to do ready for as and when we do get back to a pool. So I will be leaving a little earlier this afternoon.
You're excused. So, in a lovely, breezy, sunny day in East London, don't like to rub it in, but we're feeling quite warm here. I have even shorter than usual hennaed red hair, continuing to experiment with the clippers after a period where I just reminded myself that yes, Stu, you did have it cut short in the first place because it looks like a brush and age has not improved it. I've got black rimmed glasses. I have black wrist braces on, silver jewellery. My t shirt, which is a sort of dark grey, says studio. What does it say, Julie? I was desperately trying to look in the mirror, thinking, "What on earth?"
Tokyo.
Studio Tokyo, and
Sorry,
it's.
that took a while.
Thank you. Well, it's helped me. Well, The only choice I had was to take it all off again, and it was just too much hassle. So thank you for that. So Studio Tokyo, it's got a manga frame on the front, and I am wearing a little badge which is not going to show up at all, but is a little black, gold and black enameled badge with a little cartoon character on it with a little speech bubble. And that was the official badge of the Comics Creators Guild, which was an organisation I belonged to in the 90s and early noughties. I don't think it's still going, but if anybody knows different, please let me know. When I looked up on Google today, it started in 1978 as a form of trade union for people who work in the comics industry. And I thought I'd have an imaginary walk back in time and go to a nice city pub for a meeting of the Comics Creators Guild. Why do I want to do that? You ask yourself. Yes, you did. You did.
We
It's
did.
well, you did. You did. On Monday, we are publishing our very own comic stroke colouring book called Charlie and the Sea Monsters. And you did indeed hear it first because all of the publicity is embargoed for Monday. So we're going to tell you more about that on Monday when we will be back at 3 o'clock, or as always, the recording will be up about 8 o'clock. But in the meantime, I'm going to hand over to Julie Newman to tell us what she looks like and what she's dressed up to go out to stay in to do.
Oh, what do I look like? Uh, I've got a Wimbledon cap on. It's one of those baseball cap types with a brim that comes over my face. It's background white, and I'm trying to see the colours, which I couldn't actually see terribly well. They're striped purple and green. Purple and green are the Wimbledon colours, and inside the stripe at the front is the Wimbledon round emblem, which says the Championships Wimbledon. It doesn't actually say the year on it. And in truth, this is Jew's. I've got a much nicer one, which is at home currently. I'm also sporting a rug, which has the. Do you want to do this? Which has got the Wimbledon colours on it, the purple and the green. It doesn't have the white, but everybody knows how cold it can get after the rain, when it rains, obviously, at Wimbledon. I also have a Wimbledon 2012 little cushion thing, which is absolutely essential if you try to sit either on a scooter or on their seats for any length of time. You get very, very engrossed in the tennis, and it hurts. It really, really hurts. And finally, I have behind me my Wimbledon Mac. And again, that's a bit of essential. The only thing I don't have, because it's in the van ready to go, is the Wimbledon umbrella.
I think you've forgotten your Wimbledon water bottle over there.
Oh heck, yes, I did. Here's the Wimbledon water bottle. I don't know if you can see it. It's one of those plastic things with a top that you pull out, and it's supposed to keep the insides from spilling. It's got the Championships Wimbledon in a little badge on the side. The colours are predominantly white, purple on one side, green on the other, and the lid is green with a little purple nozzle.
So, before everybody goes off to sleep, we will be looking again at Wimbledon under something for the weekend, our usual spot, which will be coming up after 3:30. Before that, we have our sign poet, Sahira Khan, teaching us some signs for the arts. We have all sorts of things, including towards the end, guest singer Rona Topaz, who will be singing us out as Robin has to go early. Julie,
Yes.
you said on Wednesday you were going to have a look at the government letters because we were all rather confused about the lockdown changes, which for other people start tomorrow, but for people on the shielding list don't start till Monday. Did you manage to understand what the government had said?
Up to a point. That it's still quite open. The idea really is that we keep shielding until August, but we are allowed out once a day. and we're allowed to meet another person in the same household, which I find quite strange. But so, hello,
Is
Ju.
that a typo?
No, it's not. I really don't understand the thinking behind it. I will actually go on the government websites and try to seek further clarification. But forgive me for not being clearer. But then, of course, the government aren't very clear.
No, I mean, as I understand it, we're allowed to meet up to 6 other people outside from Monday, but socially distanced. Have you had a letter from the government, Surgeoners?
No, not yet.
Yeah, we have.
I haven't anyway.
He has. He just didn't read it.
Well, I'm
Yeah, well,
Anyway, yes, we have.
sorry. My secretary opened it and hadn't passed on the post. So
I mean, fundamentally, it says from our, in terms of certainly Josh and Trace, is you're just carrying on as you are until the 1st of August,
Yeah.
but you can have someone round in the garden if and chat from a distance, but shouldn't
Which
really
could
have anyone in.
yeah, I mean, could be quite useful if you've got a back gate and you don't live somewhere like the inner city. I mean, it was confusing previously because the only shielding changes that have been announced in the past was that shielders were allowed to go out once a day for exercise. And then we had a phone call from the government saying only certain shielders, not in the official shielding group. So there's kind of two shielding groups, isn't there? There's everybody over 70, for example, and then there's the 2.5 million on the government list. And as I understand it, the 2.5 million on the government list weren't supposed to go out to exercise, but possibly now we can. Not that I would dream of it while the neighbours are still coughing.
I honestly don't know, Ju. I mean, I know that I'm on the extreme shielding list, so I honestly don't know about the over 70s. I've got friends who are over 70, but they haven't said that they're on any extreme vulnerable list or
Yeah.
anything.
So I think the thing to take from it, apart from our usual message, which is that if you possibly can anyway, you should be staying home, staying creative, and that is the best way to stay well. That actually not much has changed for people shielding, and certainly not for people on the government list. They haven't guaranteed, of course, that things are going to change on the 1st of August. I just wish somebody would tell the supermarkets and the delivery people, because every single day I'm having people banging, they're literally reaching through my security gate so they can hammer on the glass to try and get me to open up. And my front door's less than 2 meters from the street. I've got a sign up that's been up there. And somehow it's like Sainsbury's, they're boasting that they're doing deliveries for vulnerable adults, but they've suddenly removed all the bags. How can you have all your shopping put in individual tins on your doorstep, which is what they tried to do, and be shielded? So I think it's true to say it's just as confused as it always was. The only clarification I have seen in the last few hours is that the pubs can open from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, but not from midnight tonight. That doesn't kind of make me feel really reassured that the infection rate is going to drop so much. We're going to be liberated in August. Do you have any thoughts on this, Surgeoners?
Well, I think like you two, it's all very confusing, and what's being said on the one hand, still stay home, still shield. However, if you want to, you can go to Italy, France, Spain, Denmark, Norway, and as far for many other destinations. I mean, I literally just had a thing flash up to say, holiday is you can go on holiday, not need to quarantine. People can come here and not quarantine, and you just think it doesn't really make any sense. The two halves don't add together. And I think that seeing what's happening in the States at the moment, I mean, Josh and I were listening to the news earlier, and Texas alone has currently got an infection rate of 8,000 people a day, was it?
8,000 cases a day.
A day of new positive cases of COVID. So yeah, at the moment, it's kind of what we're not going to be taking any risks at the moment. Let's put it that way.
No, and I think all we have to do really is look at Leicester, and I think that's a very good indicator of where things are going.
Yes, I mean, know we say this every time, but if you're on that extremely vulnerable list, and you probably know who you are, or you couldn't get on the list, but you know you should have been on the list, then don't go out for anything that isn't essential anytime soon. There are years and years to come if we can just stay well now. We will be running this show for as long as is necessary, and we've got no plans to stop anytime soon, nice though that would be. But I do think by the middle of 2021, things will be looking very different. The vaccine developments are actually much more promising than people thought. Some of the goodness knows nobody wants to get really ill, but the treatments are getting better. So I think we can be a lot more optimistic, but it is still a very strong message at the moment to stay home,
Yeah.
which brings us nicely on to our Join In From Home program. Together Unlocked, as you may know, is brought to you by Together 2012, which is an organisation led by disabled artists, all of whom live or work in the London Borough of Newham, apart from Robin, who lives in that well known East London outreach, Sutton Coldfield, but has been supporting us from the beginning and is now our business director. If anybody is interested in training, consultancy, or anything else we might be able to do for you, we will put on events for you. At the moment, those would have to be virtual events, which is what we will be focusing on for the next 12 months. We always run a 4 week long plus festival in Disability History Month, November, December. This year it's going to be entirely virtual. We've got some very exciting artists programmed, and we should be releasing that about 2 weeks' time on this very show. We also run in more normal times a weekday morning outreach program for any disabled person who can get to East Ham and anybody they want to bring with them. So we offer clubs in crafts, drawing and painting, music, photography, dance, poetry, and we have activities that you can join in with from home on our website under the Join In From Home link that matches all of those clubs. We've also got some family activities, and we've got some activities specifically for the under 25s. But we're really interested in everything that you're making at home, whether it's got anything to do with our subjects or not. So, for example, our poetry challenge is to write a poem on the theme of together. We talked about that on Wednesday, so I'm not going to go over it now, but suffice it to say that we will be publishing an anthology of those poems in the autumn as part of the festival. But we would love to see your poems about any subject, your paintings, your photographs, your films, your videos, your recordings of you performing, or indeed, we would love to have you live on the show to talk about your projects. So that is our Join In From Home program. Do you have things you'd like to add? I'm sure you do.
Well, I mean, I think we're very much in this household encouraging people to be doing lots of art, lots of, creative anything really. I mean, Emily's been inspired as well. She's been creating her own little version of anime characters. She's very into anime, which for those of you who don't know, is a form of Japanese cartoon. Um, there are lots and lots of actual printed anime books called a manga, and you read them. Well, I guess they're not front to back. They're not back to front because it's the way it's done. But it would, in terms of how we read books, it would appear to be reading from the back to the front. Um, and and lots of films and she's cartoons and stuff. So and actually developing characters for potential story writing. So she's really got a kind of creative bit between her teeth at the moment, along with her video making and stuff.
Because you've got some of your family artwork up behind you, haven't you? And Josh has talked, and I think we'll continue to talk in the future quite a lot about how he's been learning to draw and working on his photography. Because I think now you're perhaps not defining yourself just as a sports person, but you were very much at the end of March when we started. But we always knew you were actually an artist as well. Who did? because I can see between you behind your medal wearing bear, because your teddy bear won the Paralympics on Wednesday, there's a lovely purple. Is it a collage piece? Do you want to describe it?
It's something Emily did. So I would guess you would describe it as a kind of wash, um, purpley blue, or more purpley wash on a whole sheet of paper, and then she has um, cut out and created a seahorse, big smiley jellyfish, a starfish,
There's an octopus at the bottom, I think.
oh yeah, there's an octopus and some lovely golden shells. So yes, I guess that's a collage.
Yeah,
She
so
loves doing stuff like that. We've got various things like we bought loads of small canvases from somewhere like IKEA, probably sort of 6x8 or 8x10 canvases, and all dotted around the houses. We've got just a love heart or a house or something. And it's quite funny. She just suddenly go, "I'm going to do that," and so um they're very immediate because it's literally it will be a tree or a tree in a house or whatever it is, but they're kind of lovely.
I think they're great. I mean, we've got the ideas on our website are very much based on things you might already have at home. We have a further link through to arts activities from our colleagues at Stratford Circus. Again, they're mostly based on what you could already find at home. But what we find together, usually, if we're going shopping, is absolutely if you go to the right places, it's amazing how cheaply you can get things that cost 5 or 10 times that somewhere else. In terms of online, I think Wilco and the Works, if people have money to spare.
And Baker Ross. I don't know if you've come across Baker Ross, but they've got loads and loads of packs that are suitable, particularly for younger people who just want to be a bit adventurous.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, Tracy, our production room assistant, um, also is a girls' brigade leader, and just yesterday online they were making bunting and creating a prayer around a kind of acronym. They literally took the word pray, made 4 pieces of bunting each with the letter 4 letters, and then wrote a um, sentence starting with each letter to create a small prayer. Now, obviously, not everybody wants to write prayers, but you can take any word and you can then decorate it at home, and it's literally A4 paper um,
I
cut into
know
triangle shapes.
our barbers have some wonderful bunting when we finally get back there. And what they've done is, like you say, cut the triangles out and use things like old calendars that have got pictures of animals in. And you could do it with anything, any kind of calendar that's got those thematic pages. And then they just use the office type hole punches to thread the string through. But of course, you can just use any like a pencil or something to put it through, but it's so effective. And we've talked quite a few times about how you might not be very creative under lockdown, but there's still lots of creative things you can do without needing that creative spark. And I think just making some bunting, putting it around a mirror, hanging it around a window can be a really fun way to spend an hour, and very, very relaxing if you're, because I think all of us going through periods of anxiety, it would be crazy not to be anxious, wouldn't it? But I know that all sorts of scientific work has been done, and maybe Josh, although he's looking horrified at the thought, can help me out here. That your brain actually goes into a different state, doesn't it? Kind of everything calms down, your blood pressure calms down. So yeah, just something as simple as going, oh, that old calendar that I didn't want to throw out because it seemed like such an environmental hazard can be turned into lots of bunting, cheer yourself up, and doesn't really cost anything.
And I think that goes with that is that sense of that sense of satisfaction um, of doing it. And like you said, I mean, there is we keep saying it, but it isn't about being able to draw, and it isn't about being able to play an instrument. It is just about making something that you enjoy making. You might enjoy making it and throw it away afterwards. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be, you know, stuck on the fridge for time immemorial. Like obviously all of Joshua's paintings from when he was the nursery, not.
No.
But yeah, it's really important. It is that process that that does relax you, and then that sense of gratification, that hey, I've done that, and particularly if it's something you didn't think you could do or hadn't thought about doing. So, you know, that little challenge of something new and it working, is great.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've been talking about, kind of me learning to draw. Um, I've been kind of thinking about trying to make a character, not necessarily a character, but kind of draw something original or original-ish using kind of the things that I've learned. Um, but due to the fact that I am horrendous at drawing hands, um, I've decided that it's either going to have some sort of kind of robotic-y weapon type attachment, or that I'm just going to make them an amputee. Because then it's a cop out. I don't have to draw their hand, because for some reason in their backstory they don't have one. So I think you can kind of, if you're making it yourself, you can find workarounds to what you can and can't do. You can just justify it like that.
Yeah, you can develop your own style. I mean, I was very ill about 20 years ago. I was already disabled, but then I had to sort of learn things again. And it's amazing what a sense of self you get from creating something really simple if you're coming back from a place when you haven't been able to do anything. I know that there are people up and down the country not just recovering from COVID, but having some very slow recoveries from COVID. And it's amazing how much it can boost your mental health just to be doing something that you can do. And if you can't walk and you can't necessarily remember your name or what day of the week it is, but you can make a piece of bunting out of an old calendar, it is astonishing what a lift that can actually give you. So yeah, check it out. And of course, last week we had some beautiful watercolor paintings on the show from Margaret Spence, and she'd never painted before, and she'd had these sets sitting around getting dusty in a cupboard, and unlocked this amazing talent. So don't think you can't do it, even if we do say it doesn't matter whether you're good or not. And that's such a subjective thing anyway, isn't it, really? So we are getting towards the end of the half of the show that we have Robin in. So I'm going to hand over to you for your last few minutes, Robin, to tell us anything you want and to say goodbye.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thanks for another lovely week. So say I'm kind of going off to look at actually the fact that I am going to have to sooner or later go out of the house when swimming starts again. But what's really important about it is that it's what's going on at the moment is all about making sure that it is as safe as it possibly can be. I had to do loads of maths yesterday on calculating how many swimmers I could have in the surface area of the pool and all kinds of stuff like that. So it is good. I mean, and it's kind of, I am not rushing out the door, but it is kind of nice to get that sense of there could be a bit of light somewhere soon. I mean, and across the board. And I think to on that one before I go is that again, when Josh and I were listening to the news earlier, they're talking about this treatment that they've just approved. I mean, unfortunately, most of it currently is about to be bought by America, but it is an American company. But does seem to be a treatment.
Well, it improves recovery time.
Yeah.
It's not actually there is no evidence on its effect on symptoms in terms of
But it's
level of illness, but it helps
it is
with
a
recovery.
positive move forward, though, isn't it? And I
It
think
is.
that's right. I mean, what will happen, of course, is we will start going out in due course to the things we absolutely must do. But most of us, I think, who are the slightest bit vulnerable, if only to want to save the NHS, it actually doesn't matter if you're prepared to get ill. Is it really fair if you know, like me, you would end up in hospital? to expect
Yeah.
the NHS to have to cope with it. But it will certainly be much more normal when we're able to take appropriate precautions and go and do the things we love. Together 2012 has decided we will be a virtual organisation until next spring. We have very poor digital skills as a whole because people are very digitally excluded. What COVID has proved is that they need to be included. So we are going to focus on that, and and we're going to focus on delivering a service that we can guarantee won't have to be locked down, paused, suspended, withdrawn, or any of these other kind of phrases that we've learned to mean finished, cut, not
Cool.
happening.
On
We
that note, I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I will definitely be back Monday. Have
So
a great.
while Robin is off, we are going to put up a film from our sign poet, Sahira Khan. Sahira is Newham born and bred. She lives very close to us now in Tower Hamlets. And this is a film that she made earlier in the year to teach some basic signs around the arts. And what we're hoping is that Sahira is going to come back and produce perhaps more detailed signs for us, so that we'll start with learning these signs and then we will be moving on later to learning some more complicated signs. So this is from Sahira Khan, and I'm just going to voice what's written on the screen. So sign language with Sahira Khan. Hi, I'm Sahira. How are you? I hope you're well. Have you seen my film for day 2 yet? Learn about health. Make sure you're looking after yourself. Don't forget to wash your hands. Basic BSL, British Sign Language. Today I'm teaching you some signs. What's the topic? Arts and entertainment. Arts, entertainment. Start to sign. Theatre. Cinema, film. Television. Music. Museums. Online. Actor. Writer. Filmmaker. Artist. Presenter. Photography. YouTube. Social media. Drama. Comedy. Creative. Keep practicing. Practice and sign. Brilliant. Have a nice day. Bye. And Sahira is also a comedian and a TV presenter with BSL Zone. So we're delighted to have Sahira with us. That was actually a very comprehensive list of signs. So if we get more complicated than that, then I think we can get signs in some detail for every art form. We're going to put that up on our highlights and links page, which is just below the Together Unlocked TV link on our website, together2012.org.uk. I'm just going to put that up on the website. So this is now crawling along the bottom. You should in a moment see our email address and our website address. But if you go to the highlights and links page, you will see links to all of the activities that we mentioned today and the videos that we show. Hi, Josh. Nice to see you back. So we're going to move on to something for the weekend, which is our regular spot where we talk about what's happening this weekend in the virtual world that we can go to. And I think Julie wanted to start, didn't you, Julie, with Wimbledon?
Yes, I did. I know, Josh, you're going to pick this up as well, which is great. And also, you're going to be picking up the Formula One stuff, so I'll leave that bit to you. But with regards to Wimbledon, I was quite interested at lunchtime to be watching the 1977 women's final, and the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh were present at Wimbledon. one of the few occasions that the Queen herself was there, but she was there for her Jubilee, her Silver Jubilee. And Virginia Wade was playing, and it was the final between herself and Betty Stover from Netherlands. There were several things which stood out for me on the watching the match. Um, it was interesting that it was in color because I didn't get a color television until sort of like well into the 90s. But it was interesting also for me to see several points of difference between current commentary and current coverage and what was going on in 77. Just to let you know, in case you're wanting, waiting to find out, Virginia Wade won. And that was the last time we actually had a British woman, winning Wimbledon singles.
Do you know, I remember that. What year was it again? Was
77.
77?
You must have
yeah?
been very young.
I was 15.
There you
And
go.
yes, it was such a big thing that we had a Brit. Well, it still would be, wouldn't it? Let's face it.
Well, it was, and there were, as I say, there were several things which struck me while I was watching it. One was how hairy everybody was. There was sort of wild hair everywhere. Betty Stover, who's a very, very tall and imposing woman, and a very powerful player, had quite a thick mop of medium-lengthed hair, and Virginia Wade had quite a lot of slightly longer hair. The fashions were interesting to look at, but it was the commentary which caught my attention. The commentary in the main was done by men, and there was a woman who spoke. What do you call it, Ju, when you have that BBC English?
Received pronunciation?
She had the received pronunciation, and she was talking like this and very, very patronizing about Virginia Wade. I was quite shocked actually because I thought generally the commentary was actually quite negative. But she was, I was quite shocked at just how patronizing she was. She was talking about, well, of course, Virginia is now becoming professional. Previously, of course, she wouldn't have bothered. She was very lackadaisical. I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, I can't believe she's actually saying all this. It's so rude. It's very, very rude. And I think one of the great things that's happened over the period of time since 77 is the introduction of more women as ex-tennis players who are actually commentating as well. I think they bring an additional edge to the commentary. They give us insights which we wouldn't ordinarily have from somebody who's just a broadcaster. But also, I think they're much more balanced than some of the old BBC commentators. Um, I think it's been great as well in terms of bringing more people in. I think when you've actually got the tennis players on broadcasting and available, I think they've got such a strong fan base. In 1977, as an something out of the ordinary, 12 women were seeded that year, and generally speaking, it was 8 women were seeded per year. And gradually that number crept up, but it was a long time before women were given appropriate recognition.
So it sounds like you're finding all this fascinating, and indeed, like me, you're dressing up to have a bit of a go back in time. We talked last weekend and, of course, on Monday about virtual Glastonbury. So, is the BBC running this for the whole fortnight that it would have done Wimbledon? Is it what times it's running? What channels?
Well, 1:30 BBC Two, and it's introduced by Claire Baldwin and
Balding.
Thank you. Sorry, I had a mental block there. I got an image of Claire in front of my little face, and I thought, oh, Claire, and everything else went blank.
She's a fan, aren't you, Julie? Are you a Claire fan by
Not
any chance?
necessarily.
I think you're going a bit red there.
No, I like her a little bit, but I think the BBC, what I can see is the iPlayer has got a lot of matches that are available through the iPlayer, but the BBC itself, BBC Two, is doing a program with a couple of finals or matches of note from 1:30 every day.
So it's a bit like Glastonbury. You've got that hybrid of pick your own on iPlayer or see what the BBC have selected, or do both.
Yes, I mean Glastonbury is still on the iPlayer until the end of the month, which is great because it's. I've always found with Glastonbury anyway, it's very difficult to see everything because life interferes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the thing about Glastonbury as a festival. Everybody has an individual Glastonbury because there's so many different things going on that literally every single person, even the ones that arrive as couples, end up having different experiences. So, Josh, what have you got us for the weekend?
Yeah, just starting off with the just to pick up kind of where you guys finished off on the Wimbledon stuff. You know, for someone that was slightly too young to have been alive in the late 70s, only by a few months, and kind of been able to go and watch, you know, people always talk about, the best finals, and yeah, it's similar to what we're talking about with Glastonbury last week. The things that you won't have been able to see, and aren't necessarily on YouTube or online because no one was recording it in the 70s. It just didn't, that wasn't available. So you have to see some of that kind of archive footage. I'm quite looking forward to. What I haven't seen, and admit I haven't done a kind of full deep dive into the schedule. You might have seen this when you've been looking, anything around kind of wheelchair tennis and stuff. I don't know the coverage of that. Hopefully there will be, but I haven't seen anything, and it wouldn't surprise me if there isn't, which is a shame. I agree completely with what you around the commentary stuff. I know last year, Laura Robson was doing a lot of the commentary, especially for the women's tennis, because she was out with an injury. For those that don't know, she's a British tennis player, youngish. I think she's in her late 20s. Kind of British tennis player that she won Wimbledon as a junior and things. But yes, she was out last year, coming back for an injury. And the matches that she was commentating on, the commentary was spot on because it was so contemporary. It was somebody that's on the tour and going around with these players and has an appreciation of what they have to go through, and it just made the commentary so much more interesting to have that kind of current player opinion almost. I think it was much better. Moving on from that, some other sport. Formula One is back this weekend over in Austria. So if you have Sky, then you can watch it on Sky. But if you don't, like me, then qualifying is on at 6:45 tomorrow night on Channel 4. And then the actual race highlights will be on Sunday at 6:30 in the evening on Channel 4 as well, which I'm very much looking forward to. And even if you've never watched Formula One before, the highlights programs are normally pretty good because you get the highlights and you don't have to sit through kind of the 20 laps in the middle when sometimes not a lot can happen. You just get the exciting bits. I can see Julia's ready to go with some.
Well, I was going to say 2 minutes, and then we have Rona Topaz. Rona, I'm just going to mute your microphone in the meantime so we don't get any sound bleeding through into the studio. Julie, what did you else have to say?
I was going to ask Josh, do you ever listen to it on Radio 5 Extra?
I've heard bits and pieces.
Yeah.
It's amazing how interesting someone describing a car driving around a circuit can be.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
not, and that's the other reason we're going to move on in a minute. Is I'm one of the half that find, well, of course, I shouldn't really say this as a Paralympic legacy organisation, but it's almost as dull as watching people run round in circles. Call me old-fashioned. Oh, look, they're here again. Tum, 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 bang. But
Well,
That's what you need a helicopter for, you, and then you can.
it would be a
go all
dull
the way.
world if
Yeah.
everybody enjoyed the same things.
I think
Yes.
it's a paradox, and I think that's one of the things I like about being a human being is that it's possible to have several points of view sitting comfortably alongside of each other. One is as an environmentalist and someone who tries to be ecologically minded, watching Formula One is
the least environmentally friendly sport you can have, apart from maybe kind of plane racing. Yeah.
Yes, I think we should definitely move on.
Yeah, and then the final thing, so I know Ronan's coming in. Hamilton the musical. They recorded an original Broadway show, and that's coming out on Disney Plus today. So if you've never seen it, it's great. If you have seen it and you want to watch it again, like us, then we'll be watching that. And you can get a week's free, I think, on Disney Plus. So get a week free, watch it, and then cancel it when you finish watching it. And you
Oh
won't
no,
have to pay
that sounds
anything.
like a really good idea, because I was just about to say, oh, I'd love to see that, but there's no way I'm subscribing to some. Yes, but that sounds great. Yes, so you can watch it for free and cancel it again. So what I'm
Yeah.
going to do is I'm going to bring in Rona Topaz. I'm going to put you off the vision for a little bit, Josh, but I'm going to leave you so you can ask Rona questions. Rona Topaz is a wonderful singer and songwriter. She has been working with us for several years now as a vocal tutor and also, of course, as a performer. But she's a wonderful vocal tutor, so some of our singers have really improved, but we've also very much enjoyed having Rona singing. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her new projects, and then, as it's Friday, we will be singing out with Rona. Hi, Rona.
Hi, Ju. Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, now your sound is actually unusually for a guest, just a little bit quiet. That looks like a gorgeous microphone, all gold and sparkly. And a little bit of audio description for anybody else. Rona has bright
Any
red.
better?
No,
Sound a bit
that's actually lower, Rona.
lower. Oh,
Oh, no,
okay.
no, that's okay. It's okay now. So Rona has dark framed glasses, a mass of beautiful red hair. Rona, tell us about your latest projects.
Yeah, I'm round someplace, wearing a black and white houndstooth dress with a golden microphone. Latest project. Well, I'm just basically coming out of hibernation musically now, and I'm just getting back into sort of doing vocal tuition again. But I am going to be leading an online choir very soon. Unfortunately, it's not for the people of Newham or even anyone in East London. It's actually specifically for people who are in the Elthorne section of Archway in North London. So if anyone is tuning in from North London and they live anywhere near Archway, then do get in touch with Elthorne Pride, because they are sponsoring me to put this choir together.
So that sound is still a tiny bit muffled, Rona. I'm wondering about turning it up and speaking a bit less further away. But for anybody who couldn't hear that, Rona's latest job is running a virtual choir for residents of the Archway area of North London. If you happen to be in the Archway area, then email us at info@together2012.org.uk and we will pass that on to Rona. Rona is just adjusting her setup. It's Friday. It's, as we've discovered, always more complicated on a Friday because there is so much more running on the internet. Do you want to try that, Rona?
Let's just speak without a microphone and see if this is any better.
Do you know, I think it's slightly clearer. What do you think, Julie?
yeah, that's keep talking, Rona, keep talking.
Talking. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So you say you've been hibernating. What are you looking forward to doing most over the summer?
What am I looking forward to most over the summer? Getting out of the house. No, actually just getting back into socializing again and seeing my friends, and maybe going to, if I'm feeling really brave with my visor over my nose and mouth, going to a restaurant and just basically risking doing something that I used to do before lockdown, and hopefully, coming out of it alive.
Well, we all hope that. I mean, I think one of my concerns is just as somebody with limited mobility is just being able to get out of other people's way. Have you been out for exercise, or have you been pretty much indoors?
I've been pretty much out, sort of at least once or twice a week since lockdown because I'm not on the vulnerable list. So I work from home at my other job, which is advocacy. And then the days I'm not working from home, I was doing some voluntary work indoors. But then on Fridays, I was going into food banks and helping, feed homeless people and getting food to people who can't go out. So I was doing that on Fridays every day since lockdown, and on Saturdays doing my food shopping. So it's not like I've missed going out, but I kind of missed going out for kind of leisure purposes, I suppose. Just going to see a friend. I mean, I went to my friend's house for like the first time in 3 months the other day, and I never thought I'd appreciate being in my friend's house, just having a chat and eating a takeaway dinner, and just doing something as banal as that. But doing, after 3 months of being told, oh, if you do this, you might die, and then kind of doing it and then not dying, it's great luxury.
Yeah, I think being on the shielding list, we're kind of some way off that yet. But I am interested to know if you, forgive me, use your scooter or anything, do people give you the 2 metre that you would expect, or how do you find people behave in the street?
I'd say 98% of the time, people do social distance. I went to Waterloo Station a couple of weeks ago, and somebody was anxious to get a train, and they bumped into me. And I looked at them, and they looked at me, and they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I said, "Right, okay," but I didn't. I was so shocked. And some people do not social distance. You have to kind of be very vigilant yourself and make sure you put that distance between you and the other person if you can. But I wear a visor, kind of like a kind of plexi thing that comes over my nose and mouth, and so far it's been okay. Yeah, just have to take that risk.
Yeah, I mean, I think visors for people who are about to make the kind of big leap outdoors one way or the other over the next few days. I mean, a mask is very good at protecting other people, but a visor is very good at protecting you. And if you're able to wear both, then that's clearly an ideal. It's certainly a concern I have as a power wheelchair user is, not being able to move if somebody comes straight towards me. But I think that's partly because, and inevitably you do see people at their worst, but when I go to put my bins out or to get my post in, there's still probably a majority are not wearing masks and not distancing. They're not stopping, although they know they're going to come past me really close, they're not actually stopping to give me time to go in. So it's actually very reassuring, I think, to hear that 98% of the time, I would live with 98%, I think. What about you, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just want to go home. I haven't been home since the 12th of March. So,
Yes, we're still
yeah.
trying to work out from these official but rather confusing letters whether being allowed to bubble means that we are allowed to go over to Julie's house or whether we're not allowed to do that till August. Answers on the postcard, please. The fact that you've got to put PPE on to cross the street because of people behaving the way that they do is kind of putting us off a little bit anyway. But it is, as we said earlier, very, very confusing. So if people are singing at home and still staying most at home, do you have any tips for them to keep their voices warmed up or indeed to help improve their voices?
Yeah, I would say make sure that you breathe very deeply from your stomach, from your diaphragm. Make sure that if you're sitting down, that you're sitting upright. Imagine that you've got like a kind of a string going through your spine, and there's a puppet master at the top, sort of pulling you upright. I would say if your throat is dry, to moisten it with some water. I would also say to open your mouth when you sing, because if you sing with your mouth closed because you're too embarrassed, no sound's going to come out. You need to open that mouth. You need to really, and also try to keep your tongue flat. So if you put your tongue out like this, it's not quite going to work. But if you put your tongue behind your lower teeth, and then that sound can come way out. And especially if you're nice and relaxed and you're breathing deeply, that sound is just going to come. Make sure that your throat is moistened with some water.
And that presumably is also true for people doing acting and spoken word.
Yeah, absolutely.
If people haven't been singing with their usual choir or acting with their usual group, is there any remedial things that they can do now to start preparing their voice to start singing with other people again?
Well, I think there are quite a few online choirs people can join for free. Basically, I think Gareth Malone's doing an online choir, and Juliet Russell's doing an online choir. So if people do want that kind of creative moment in their weeks, they can just sign up to those.
Right, we'll look those up and put the link in. We had a piece about the Gareth Malone Choir about a month ago and put the link in then, but I'll dig it out again. And also the one that you just mentioned, because one of the things that seems quite obvious is that being able to sing together in real life is quite a way down the list, isn't it, of things that we're allowed to do together. So I think the online choirs, if you've got online access, are a really nice thing to do. Presumably, people just shouldn't overdo it if they haven't been singing regularly for a while. They just shouldn't imagine that they can just do hours and hours to start with.
Well, you can't do hours and hours of singing anyway unless you're a professional. If you sing for more than an hour, you will ruin your voice, particularly if you don't know what you're doing. If you're a professional, you're used to kind of going out and singing for 2 hours or more, because you know when to take appropriate breaks. And you'll notice that even if you go to a gig and somebody's been singing on stage for 2 hours, you'll notice there's always that moment when the band take over, or there's always that moment when they have a water break, or they just talk to the audience, or they just have a little bit of a respite. You can't really sing continuously for more than an hour without having some sort of respite, even if you're a professional. But if you are a professional, you've got that stamina to be able to sing for 2 hours more or less unbroken. But if you're not a professional, I would say don't even think about singing for more than an hour without, basically sing for an hour. That's it. If you're singing around the house, you're humming to yourself. It's different, but you just need to be kind of just prudent and use common sense.
Well, that's really helpful. We're going to have Rona back on again in a few weeks' time with more tips and more performances. So we're going to hand over to Rona to sing us out in a minute. Just to flag up, we are back on Monday. We are here on Monday, Wednesday and Friday from 3 to 4 o'clock. You can watch us on the website with live captions beneath, or you can watch us on YouTube and join in with the live chat. We post the recordings of the show with the captions around 8 o'clock in the evening. The captions do take a while to process, and that actually depends on the day and what the internet usage is like, so we don't have an exact time. On Monday, we will be talking about a range of things, including the new Newham community television station. So do join us then. I think we'll let Josh just come in and say goodbye. Do you want to give us a goodbye from West Midlands, Josh? So there's a socially distanced goodbye from Julie and I and the cat, which has finally wandered off and stopped sinking its claws in. What I'm going to do, Rona, is get you to introduce your song and sing it. Without further ado, Rona Topaz.
Okay, well, I'm not sure whether or not I can get the backing track to work on this device and sing along to it. So I'm going to see whether that's a possibility. So you'll have to excuse me for a wee second whilst I do that. And if not, then we'll just have a go at singing it a cappella. So just excuse me just a moment, please.
Absolutely. So while Rona is just sorting that out, we just lost Rona for a second. Hello, Julie. Wakey, wakey.
No, I was wide awake. I was just thinking, I hope everybody's going to have a nice weekend, and whatever their interests are, I hope there's something to meet them, so that there's something enjoyable to watch or to do. or if you're sharing the weekend with other people, that you have a bit of fun. Actually, it's a bit of a grim time, so it's nice to have a bit of fun.
Yes, I mean, it's noticeable that everybody who did virtual Glastonbury last weekend seems to have been as shattered as if they went to the real Glastonbury. So, having a nice picnic and doing something sensible and Wimbledon-y might be the ideal way to recover from virtual Glastonbury, or indeed, like me, if you also did virtual Pride. So, next week, as usual, on a Wednesday, we have our Paralympics where we race our clockwork toys for the right of a teddy bear taking part in the virtual bear hunt to wear a medal. We think that's a bit of a laugh, but actually, the Surgeoners take it really seriously, which is even more funny.
But they keep winning, don't they?
But unfortunately, they do keep winning and showing off their vast collection of medals. We just have the one gold plastic one. Also, on a Wednesday, Julie's assistant's dog Precious goes out with her pet cam and shows us the outside world and how it's developed in the last week. We had a bit of a rubbish film this week, but we're hoping for more. We're also training up Merlot, which is Stera from our associate drama company's Act Up's assistant's dog. And Merlot is, I think, in training as we speak to show us some of Stera's flat, and I think ultimately even a bit of the outside world as well. We get back to Friday, of course, we've got dressing up to go out to stay in. If you've been inspired to dress up to go out to stay in, then please do send us your photos and videos, or indeed your photos and videos of you performing, making artwork, reading poetry. We've now been invaded by a very large black fluffy cat who is called Leonardo. I'm just going to bring Rona back into the stream now. And Rona is going to sing a cappella because we can't get the backing track to work. That's right, isn't it, Rona?
Hello? Yes. Obviously that didn't work. I'm not going to be able to play the backing track and sing to it at the same time because there was a bit of an issue with that. So we are basically going to sing Mamma Mia from the movie Mamma Mia. I've never sung with a cappella before, so hopefully it'll sound decent. I've been cheated by you since I don't know when. So I made up my mind it must come to an end. Look at me now, will I ever learn? I don't know how, but I suddenly lose control. There's a fire within my soul. Just one look and I can hear a bell ring. One more look and I forget everything. Whoa, whoa, Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you? Mamma Mia, does it show again? My, just how much I missed you. Yes, I've been broken hearted, blue since the day we parted. Why did I ever let you go? Mamma Mia, now I really know. My, I could never let you go. I've been angry and sad about things that you do. I can't count all the times that I told you we're through. And when you go, when you slam the door, I think you know that you won't be away too long. You know that I'm not that strong. Just one look and I can hear a bell ring. One more look and I forget everything. Whoa, whoa, Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you? Mamma Mia, does it show again? My, just how much I missed you. Yes, I've been broken hearted, blue since the day we parted. My, did I ever let you go? Mamma Mia, I need It's a game we play by